The princess lived her whole life in the constant light of the public eye. She died in a Parisian car accident while going too fast to avoid cameras. There has been a lot of tradition and secrecy around the British monarchy for a long time, but even the most closely guarded organization can't always hide from the truth. And in the past few years, the royal family has been hit with scandals, revelations, and issues that have shocked the public. As a shocking new development, the maid who worked for the late Princess Diana has come forward with a shocking claim that has shocked everyone at Buckingham Palace. If you want to learn more about the interesting life of Princess Diana, her maid, and the big news that the royal family made, stay tuned. For now, the questions still stand. What does this revelation mean? Is it possible? Why did the royal family act right away? If you want to learn more about the interesting life of the late Princess Diana, her maid, and the news that the royal family made, stay tuned. Diana, the Princess of the People. Princess Diana, who was known as the People's Princess, did a lot of good deeds that changed the world and gave her boys, Prince William and Prince Harry, ideas. Her acts of kindness, understanding, and active participation in charitable activities changed what it meant to be a princess and set an example for her boys to follow. Diana started helping people right after she married Prince Charles in 1981. She took on many causes, such as homelessness and children's health care. People in the charity community really liked her because she was so good at getting along with people, especially those who were having a hard time. One of her first important projects was working with people who had been affected by HIV, the virus that causes AIDS. The first HIV and AIDS unit in the UK opened at Middlesex Hospital in London in April 1987. She got a lot of attention when she shook hands with an AIDS patient. This kind act went against the bad ideas people have about people with the illness and made them seem more like real people. Her hands-on approach with patients was innovative and set a new standard for how the royal family should be involved in health issues. Diana also did a lot to make people more aware of the dangers of soft bombs. She went to Angola with the International Red Cross in January 1990 to spread the word about how dangerous these weapons are. The media covered her walk through an active minefield in great detail, bringing the problem to the attention of people all over the world. Her campaign hit a turning point when she gave a powerful speech at the Anti-Personnel Mine Conference in Oslo and called for an end to landmines. The Ottawa Treaty was finally ratified later that year, and her work was very important to that process. Diana's commitment to helping others had a big effect on her kids, Prince William and Prince Harry. They have continued her work by supporting charitable projects. She got her kids interested in good deeds from a young age, teaching them how important it is to care for and help others. Prince William has talked a lot about how much his mother affected his work with charities. In an interview with British GQ in 2016, he talked about how she would cry when she got home from meeting new people and seeing how hurt they were. He said that these experiences changed him and have stayed with him ever since. William has focused on raising knowledge about mental health, helping homeless people, and supporting environmental protection, which are all things that Diana taught him. Prince Harry's upbringing had a big effect on him. In 2006, he started a charity in Botswana to help children and young people who are affected by HIV and AIDS, similar to how Diana helped those who were sick. Harry talked about how his mother's legacy drives him in an interview on independent television in 2019. He said that he wants to honor her memory and inspire his children and others. Diana's influence can also be seen in the nonprofit work that their partners do. Catherine, Duchess of Cambridge, has worked to improve mental health, early childhood development, and addiction issues. Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, on the other hand, has focused on racial justice, gender equality, and community strength. When put together, these actions show how carefully Diana gives to charity. Stay tuned as we learn more about Diana's ex-butler's point of view. Before that, let's look at how close they are. The connection between Paul Burrell and Diana. Paul Burrell's relationship with Princess Diana went beyond what a butler for the royal family is supposed to do. It was based on friendship and trust. Beginning in 1987 and continuing until Diana's sad death, Burrell was Diana's faithful servant for more than 10 years. He learned about the most private parts of her life during this time. Being Diana's trusted friend who saw the problems, worries, and stresses she went through every day. Over the years, Burrell has shared his thoughts on the beloved princess's life in a number of books and talks. Still, his most recent claims may be the most shocking yet because they call into question the official story about Diana's death and suggest that important people in the government may have planned her death. The story of what most people think happened before she died is well known. Photographers were following Diana and Dodi Fade as they went through a tunnel. Henry Paul was driving, and they crashed. Later, it was found that Paul had been drinking, and the event was called an accident. It was said that someone might have been cheating from the start, though. It was said that Diana had told her friends that she was worried about her safety and that she thought she was being picked out. She is said to have written in a letter months before her death, that she was afraid someone would plan a car accident to hurt her. Most people didn't pay much attention to these worries, thinking that she was just paranoid because she was constantly being watched by the media. The new information that Burrell has shared, however, backs up these long-held fears. Before we get into this fact, why did Diana feel insecure? What made her feel like she was being picked out? Let's start at the beginning. The problems in Prince Charles and Princess Diana's marriage that led to their split. Princess Diana was married to Prince Charles, but she tragically died in an accident in Paris with a friend, who she was ready to start a new life with away from the fame of the royal family. The couple seemed to be very happy together in public, but their split was really caused by problems in the family that were not being talked about. For a while before he started meeting Diana, Prince Charles was seeing her older sister, Sarah Spencer. No matter what, their differences led to a split. But King Charles III, who used to be called Charles, remained interested in the Spencer family. This may have been because the Spencer family had a long history with the royal family. After he broke up with Sarah, he became close with Diana, her younger sister. Was his love real, or was he just looking for a short-term fling? That question still stands. Charles met Lady Diana Spencer in 1977 through her sister Sarah, who was seeing someone else at the time. Charles was smitten by Diana's innocence and young charm, and their relationship grew even though they were 13 years apart in age. In 1980, the media took notice of their relationship, and many people were eager to see how their love story went. On February 6, 1981, Charles asked Diana to marry him at Windsor Castle. On February 24, 1981, they made the engagement official. Diana became famous all over the world when she was only 19. Her engagement ring, which had a 12-carat sapphire in the middle and diamonds around it, became a symbol that young women looked up to. The people praised the pair. But there were clear signs of tension in their first appearance together with Andrew Gardner of independent television. When asked about his feelings of love, Charles famously said, "Whatever in love means," which led to a lot of guessing and hints at deeper problems. Actually, Diana chose to keep going with the relationship anyway because she thought love would grow over time. But on the night before they got married, she had a sad realization. Diana, Her True Story, a book written by Andrew Morton in 1992, says that Diana found a bracelet that Charles had made for his ex-girlfriend Camilla Parker Bowles. She lost her dreams about her future husband and marriage when she found out that Charles was still in love with Camilla. The big wedding that was supposed to happen the next day was trumped by this honor. On July 29, 1981, Diana and Charles got married in a big wedding at St. Paul's Cathedral. 750 million people around the world watched. Even though the event was very fancy, Diana was getting more and more worried and disappointed about the marriage. She wanted to be with someone loving and caring, but she ended up feeling alone in the royal family. The fact that Charles kept in touch with Camilla made her feel even more betrayed and alone. Diana started having sadness and bulimia at the start of her marriage. She went from living in the country to being a princess overnight. Because she was being closely watched all the time in her new job, she had to keep up a perfect image, which meant being happy and looking like she was happily married. The never-ending royal duties, the constant attention from the media, and her feeling of being apart from Charles all contributed to her mental health getting worse. Diana talked about her fight with bulimia in an open interview with Martin Bashir for the British Broadcasting Corporation's Panorama in 1995. She linked it to problems in her marriage. Her honesty brought a lot of attention to mental health and eating disorder issues, showing how brave she was while going through her own problems. Diana went to great lengths to get her husband's attention and let him know how deeply unhappy she was. In later interviews, she talked about how many times she had tried to hurt herself. For example, she said that while she was pregnant with Prince William, she had purposely fallen down the stairs to get Charles and the royal family's attention. Sadly, this desperate action didn't get the response she was hoping for. Instead, it made her feel even more alone. Diana was brave enough to talk to Camilla in person at a social event in 1989 after learning that Prince Charles was seeing her. In 1991, when she talked to Andrew Morton for the book Diana, Her True Story, she remembered telling Camilla, "I know what's going on with Charles, and I want you to know that Diana was feeling even more betrayed and helpless after Camilla's uninterested answer." The constant cheating had a big effect on Diana's mental and emotional health, and it made her feel more and more alone in the royal family. When the 1990s began, the marriage had broken down so badly that it could not be fixed. Diana freely admitted that the affair had a big effect on her life in her famous 1995 Panorama interview, where she said, "Diana's decision to seek a divorce was a difficult but necessary step in December 1992. They said they were splitting up, and on August 28, 1996, the divorce was completed." Diana kept her title as Princess of Wales and continued to work hard for charity. Charles, on the other hand, kept dating Camilla, who would later become his second wife. Diana made this choice to show that she wanted to get away from the problems of being a princess after 10 years of a marriage she didn't love. Later, she fell in love with Dodi, an Egyptian film director who is the oldest son of businessman Mohammed Al Fayed. What happened that very important night? Keep an eye out for what her butler says about the palace news. The terribly sad accident. The terrible car accident on August 31st, 1997 had a huge impact on the whole world, which led to the sad deaths of Dodi Fayed and Princess Diana. This event took place in Paris, France, and affected millions of people around the world in a big way. Princess Diana and Dodi Fayed were staying at the Ritz Hotel in Paris at the time. After a calm evening, they left the hotel with the goal of going to Dodi's apartment. However, they had a lot of problems because paparazzi were always after them for pictures and talks. They chose to leave through the back door. It was around 12:20 a.m. when Diana, Dodi, the driver Henry Paul, and the guardian Trevor Rees-Jones left the Ritz in a black Mercedes-Benz S280. The paparazzi quickly saw them leave and started following the car. He ran quickly through the streets of Paris to get away from the photographers. Before going through the Pont d'El Alma tunnel, the car went very fast along the Seine River. This tunnel, which is known for having sharp turns, turned out to be dangerous in this case. Sad to say, tragedy struck soon after they left the hotel at 12:23 a.m. The Mercedes lost control and hit the 13th tunnel wall. It then spun out of control and stopped. The outcome was terrible, which caused the car to be completely destroyed. The emergency workers got to the scene right away. In a 2017 interview with The Sun, French firefighter Xavier Gorman said that things were chaotic. He remembered that Princess Diana knew what was going on at first and said, "My God, what's going on?" before she passed out. The truth is that Dodi Fayed and Henry Paul both died right away from their injuries. Diana had to be freed from the wreckage by rescue workers who worked hard. She was then taken to Pity-Salpêtrière Hospital in serious condition. Even though the medical staff worked very hard, Princess Diana finally died from her injuries and was pronounced dead at 4 a.m. The only person who survived the crash is Trevor Rees-Jones, the guardian. He might be able to explain what happened. Many people had a hard time accepting Princess Diana's death, which led to broad grief for the beloved people's princess, whose kindness and charitable work had a positive effect on many people. After the terrible event, French officials quickly started a full investigation into what happened. It was found that Henry Paul, who was driving the car, had a lot of alcohol in his blood and was also high on prescription drugs at the time of the crash. Still, Diana's helper, Paul Burrell, made a big discovery that called into question what people thought they knew about how she died, suggesting that there is more information to be found. We need to know more about Burrell before we can understand what he is saying. What is his name? Paul Burrell was born in Grasmore, England on June 6, 1958. He grew up in a town where people worked in coal mines. Graham and Barbara Burrell, who were his parents, raised him. When Paul was young, it looked like he would become a truck driver like his father. Still, from the time he was 8 years old, he had a strong desire to work at Buckingham Palace, which his father supported completely. He became interested in the palace after seeing the changing of the guard event in London and being amazed by how grand it was. Paul is also a great writer, and his life story shows how important his job was in the royal home, where he worked closely with famous members of the royal family. The royal family praised him, but he had a lot of problems that put his life and the lives of his family in danger. But this isn't what this movie is mostly about. What happened behind those beautiful smiles on these royal people's faces? What goes on inside? Watch out for now. What was going on behind those big smiles? New information about the royal family, especially about Prince Charles, gives us a better picture of how things really work. The ex-butler, Paul Burrell, recently talked about how he feels about how Prince Charles is portrayed on the famous show The Crown. Some viewers thought that the show's portrayal of Charles as emotionally detached and uncaring was similar to how Burrell had seen the prince act in private. He said that Charles did not give Princess Diana the love and care she needed, even though they were married. This is a feeling that is well shown in the series. Burrell talked more about how Charles and Diana's relationship was getting worse, pointing out that the tension was more noticeable as Diana's fame grew. He showed how Diana felt when she felt forgotten and unsupported in her marriage, focusing on how upset she was that her husband didn't care about her. Diana loved him very much before she got married, but it was clear that he did not love her back. People are interested in and sympathetic to Burrell's story because it puts light on the emotional problems Princess Diana faced in her marriage. This event also makes it more important to look into Diana's private letters to Burrell, which show how different her strong love was from Charles's clear lack of attention to Diana's letter to her maid. At this point in my life, I feel very unsafe because someone, let's call them X, is trying to mess with the brakes and cause a car accident that will seriously hurt my head. Their goal is to make it possible for Charles to get married. have been mentally abused, beaten, and bruised for 15 years by a cruel system. In spite of this, I don't feel angry. My enemies might find it annoying that I can get back up quickly. I'm thankful that Charles made me go through so much pain and giving me the chance to learn important lessons from the hurt he caused me. The Daily Mirror didn't say who the security guard was that the princess named, but the letter's contents were interesting enough to get conspiracy theorists interested. These people have always refused to believe the official story that Princess Diana and her partner Dodi died in a terrible car accident on August 31st, 1997. The attempt to silence Paul Burrell through criminal proceedings seemed like a bad idea, but it accidentally drew attention to the possibility that the royal family was involved in the strange events. After the prosecution failed, Scotland Yard got important evidence from Burrell, including letters, audio recordings, and videotapes that have not been made public yet. It was very important for Burrell to testify in a separate public inquiry because he didn't show this evidence at the start of the French crash probe. In the most current news about Burrell's book in the Mirror, there is a letter from the Duke showing that he can't believe anyone would leave her for Camilla. The letters also show what Prince Philip and the Queen talked about when they talked about Charles and Diana's marriage problems. Most people think that Prince Philip didn't like Diana, but if these facts are true, it goes against what most people think. Should he have been right about what he thought? What did you think the royal family would do about this? Watch out for now. Burrell doesn't trust the cause of her death. Before she died too soon, Diana spoke out more about issues that made powerful people nervous. She spoke out against landmines, fought against people who were against aid, and used her public standing to support problems that were seen as controversial. Some people also thought that her relationship with Dodi Fayed, who is Egyptian and Muslim, could hurt the popularity and image of the British royal family. Burrell says that Diana's growing freedom and her readiness to break royal rules may have been seen as a threat by people who put the stability and longevity of the monarchy above all else. The idea that Diana's death was planned also raises important questions about the role of the media. A lot of the time, the crash is blamed on the paparazzi's relentless chase, but Burrell's claims suggest that the media may have been part of a bigger plot. This idea adds more depth to the story by implying that the media may have been utilized as a tool in the plan, whether on purpose or by accident. It brings out even more how tense things are between Diana and the media, who both admire and use her. Burrell says Diana told him many times about her worries because she thought she was in danger, because some people in the royal family didn't like her and wanted to get rid of her. He remembers Diana saying that she felt weak and vulnerable by comparing herself to a lamb being led to the killing. At first he thought she was exaggerating, but now he sees that she was really scared. Still, Burrell's most recent claims are about more than just Diana's personal problems. He says he has proof that her death wasn't an accident, but was part of a well-planned scheme by people who are good at controlling events to get what they want. Most of Burrell's proof is unknown, but he says that high-level officials were involved and that advanced techniques were used to make the crash look like it was an accident. He thinks that the driver, Henry Paul, wasn't just drunk, he was also pushed to go along with the plan. According to what Burrell says, there is a huge cover-up with many levels of lies to protect those who are responsible. The things that Burrell said have big effects. If proven true, they show that someone who was loved by many people in the 20th century wasn't killed by strangers or outsiders, but by people in her own group. This makes me think that the system has become very corrupt and morally bad, which is hard to understand. It's sad and upsetting that someone who is known for being kind, doing good things for others, and being friendly with people could be seen as a threat and had to be taken away. Burrell thinks that this plot is based on struggles for power, keeping things the same, and protecting the status quo. If you like this video, please click the next button and share it with your friends.